In the quiet corners of the world, there are tales that few dare to repeat, stories that cling to the bones like shadows and whisper to you when the night stretches long and restless. These are not merely stories of imagination, but reflections of things that have happened, things that should not have happened yet. Did they twist the air with a sense of dread that never seems to leave? They are real incidents tangled with horror and fear. The first story begins on a night where silence itself seemed to shiver. A young man named Adrian found himself on a lonely road, his car humming with the steady vibration of tires. Against cracked pavement, he had worked late and was desperate to reach home before the night became unbearable. His headlights cut into the darkness, but every turn only revealed more of the same endless road trees, arching over, as if leaning closer to listen to his passing. He told himself it was nothing, only the quiet country roads, but deep inside he felt, watch the kind of watch that makes the back of your neck itch. Adrian tried to distract himself with the radio, but the station fuzzed into static. He tapped the dial annoyed, but the sound only grew louder until it was no longer static, but whispers. Dozens of whispers. Overlapping words he could not understand, but felt heavy with meaning. He switched it off, but the sound did not stop. It clung to the car, to the air around him, and it seemed to seep into his ears. He checked the back seat, nothing but shadows, but those shadows seemed to breathe. Then he saw her, a figure standing on the side of the road, a woman in a pale dress, her hair hanging wet over her face. He braked hard, his car screeching to a stop. The figure did not move, did not wave, only stood and waited. Adrian felt torn between helping and fleeing. His instincts screamed at him, but against reason, he rolled the window down just a crack to call out. The woman lifted her head and her face was wrong. It was not broken or injured, simply wrong. The eyes too wide, too dark. The mouth stretched in a way that suggested a smile, yet was not human. And then she whispered the same whispers he had heard on the radio. Adrian hit the gas. His car roared forward. But when he looked into the mirror, she was sitting in his back seat, and the whispers became screams. They found his car the next morning, wrapped around a tree, the driver's seat empty, the windshield cracked, the doors wide open, but no body was ever found. Only faint impressions of wet footprints leading away from the road into the woods and stopping there as if they had vanished into nothingness. The second story belongs to a small family who had just moved into an old farmhouse nestled in the valley. The parents, Daniel and Marissa, believed it would be the perfect escape from the crowded city, a place for their daughter Lily to grow and breathe. But the house carried secrets in its beams and walls, secrets that lingered long before they arrived. From the very first night, Lily complained about noises in her room, scratching sounds, soft knocks beneath the floor. Daniel dismissed it as the house settling, but the sounds grew worse. One evening, Marissa woke to the faint creak of Lily's door opening. She sat up thinking her daughter was coming into their room, but the hallway was empty. She went to check and found Lily sitting upright in bed, her eyes glassy, staring at the corner of the room. Marissa whispered her name, but Lily shushed her, then pointed to the corner where no one stood. Yet the air bent there as though something unseen shifted in place. Marissa pulled her daughter close, but Lily whispered words that froze her. The woman says she will take me soon. Daniel tried to reason that Lily was dreaming, but each night grew worse. Lily would wake with scratches on her arms, bruises in the shape of fingers. She could not explain. One night, Daniel set up a camera to capture what was happening. The following morning, they watched the footage together. What they saw silenced them forever. The room was empty for hours. Then, at 3 in the morning, the corner of the room seemed to split like a shadow peeling itself from the wall. A figure stretched tall, thin and bent, crawling toward the bed. Lily did not stir, though her breathing grew shallow. The figure placed a hand on her arm, leaving the bruise they had seen. Then it turned its head toward the camera, though no features were visible, only an abyss of darkness. The family left the house that day. They never returned. Though they tried to sell it, buyers always backed out. claiming the house felt wrong, lifeless, almost predatory neighbors whispered that no one would stay there. Long the farmhouse remains empty, windows black, like hollow eyes, watching the valley below. The third story circles back to the strange bond between dreams and waking reality. A college student named Erica lived in a dorm known for its drafty halls and thin walls. She often joked that the building was haunted, but it was not until the winter break, when most students had gone home, that she learned how true those jokes could be. Erica stayed behind to catch up on work. She had the entire floor nearly to herself. Nights were quiet until one evening when she awoke to the sound of footsteps outside her door, slow, deliberate steps that stopped right at her threshold. She whispered hello, thinking perhaps a security guard was making rounds, but no one answered. She listened, heart pounding as the footsteps began. Again, pacing back and forth, the thin gap beneath the door allowed a faint shadow to pass back and forth. Finally, she gathered courage and opened the door. The hall was empty, too empty. She shut the door quickly, locking it, double-checking twice. But that night she dreamed of a figure with no face standing in the hallway, whispering her name. For the next week she did not sleep well each night. The same sound, the same pacing, the same dreams, until she stopped dreaming altogether and began seeing the figure while awake, at first only at the corner of her eye, then full in view, tall, featureless, standing at the end of the hall one night. She tried to record the sound with her phone, but when she played on it back, it was not footsteps, but the sound of her own breathing, amplified, ragged, terrified. Then a voice, hers but not hers, whispering, "Let me in, let me in." When her friends returned from break, they found Erica gone, her belongings still in place, her notebooks open on the desk, each page filled with the same words scribbled again and again. "Let me in. Let me in." Scrawled until the pen tore through the paper. The university never explained her disappearance, but the dorm was eventually shut down after other students complained of the same sounds, the same figure. The fourth and final story belongs to an abandoned hospital at the edge of town. Long since condemned, but still standing tall against the wind, children dared each other to go inside, but few ever did. One night, a group of teenagers driven by thrill crept into the broken halls, their flashlights slicing through dust and ruin. They laughed at first, making jokes about ghosts, until one of them, Emma, wandered off, following a sound like crying. It led her to a room with rusted beds lined against the wall. The crying grew louder until it was behind her. She turned, but saw only darkness. Her friends found her minutes later, shaking, unable to speak. They tried to lead her out, but the halls seemed to stretch endlessly, the turns leading them in circles. The hospital did not want them to leave. Shadows clung to the walls, twisting into shapes that reached for them, whispering promises in voices not their own. When they finally stumbled back into the night, Emma collapsed, pale, her eyes fixed on something only she could see. For weeks afterward, she refused to speak, and when she finally did, she whispered a single sentence over and over: "They are still in there. They are waiting. They are hungry." The hospital was torn down years later, but the land remains fenced off. No one dares build upon it. Locals say on quiet nights you can still hear crying carried by the wind. And so these are the four most disturbing real incidents, each wrapped in darkness that lingers long after the tale is told. They serve as reminders that horror is not bound to imagination alone. It waits in roads and houses and dreams and ruins, waiting for those who are foolish or unlucky enough to cross its path, waiting for those who will never escape its grasp.